What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today we're talking about the mantis pose or the praying mantis position. We have these two executions of the pose displayed here, the one with both arms straightened and the kind of the modified mantis pose on the right with the forearm bend showcasing the bicep peak. So in this video, I'm gonna show you bodybuilders throughout history that did the pose and did it well. So let's get started. This pose was popularized even before the golden era in the 60s when bodybuilding was in its infancy. Here you can see the original Mr. Olympia, Larry Scott, the golden boy. The mantis pose was one of his signatures, and he looks great in it thanks to his great arm development. The forearms look really thick and veiny, and Larry's long head biceps also show themselves very well, largely due to the way he's hitting the shot. And the small waist, of course, is the cherry on the top of the cake. And he's very iconic in this pose, Larry Scott. Here is another 60s legend, Dave Draper, nicknamed the Blonde Bomber. In my opinion, his upper body looks very impressive in the pose. Look at the full arms, biceps, triceps, and forearms. And the waist, I think he could, even in some instances, maybe outdo the almighty Oak, Arnold Schwarzenegger, we can see here, and who was very fond of hitting this pose in the 70s when he won his 7 Olympia titles. Here we can see him again. He had a sunken midsection, a thick chest that is probably the best of all time, and of course the arms. Arnold really tailored this pose for himself by focusing more on showcasing his biceps than triceps, and he did a great job with that because his biceps look huge and full, as well as his forearms. Here he is again. Arnold hits this pose awesomely, and he's also the one who popularized it the most of anyone, in my opinion, which is why he's got quite a few pictures. There are the last pictures you're gonna see in this video of the Austrian Oak. He's looking great. But here's Mike Menzer, Mr. Heavy Duty, who also looks pretty good hitting the mantis pose if you ask me. He's got a nice full biceps on one arm and a good horseshoe on the other. Here, two more my Menzer pics. Not the best quality, admittedly, but we can definitely tell from these that he's no slouch. Here, another shitty set of screenshots, sorry, but what can we do? Anyway, it's the one-time Mr. Olympia Chris Dickerson. Probably not the best in the pose, but his arms look respectable. And the second look on Chris Dickerson, although we can't really see much to be honest, I think Chris is underrated. No, he's not the most dominant Mr. Olympia ever. He's probably the least dominant and least impressive possibly, but people say he was nothing special. But maybe his posing was spectacular, and his calf and leg development never gets mentioned. He was definitely better than people say. But anyway, this is 8-time Olympia champ Lee Haney from the 80s, of course. And I included him because he looks decent enough. He was a great poser, a very underestimated poser in my opinion, and he also hit the shot a few times. So here's another look. Yeah, these arms are not a strong point for him, I guess, but they sure don't look bad or underside in these shots. I would say he looks really good. This is a guy who was battling Lee on stage, the Dragon Slayer, Rich Gaspari. He did this pose justice, and his arms look vascular and separated and good. So yes, I think he's also good in the pose. Here is Mohammed Makawi, who was an excellent poser. I mean, a sight to behold, and I was even able to find a photo shoot picture of him. Plus, his tricep looks extra meaty and shapely too. So I think overall the pose looks quite good on Mohammed Makawi. Next is a very aesthetic 80s athlete in Bob Paris. He was also a crazy good poser, very artistic. I've only seen Bob hit this shot a few times, but nevertheless, he's aesthetically perfect in virtually every pose. And that's why I wanted to show him to you guys, despite his arm development maybe not looking that impressive, to be honest, compared to some of the others. And there was also Barry DeMay, whose pics are really bad, and I apologize for it, but honestly, his arms don't look too great in my opinion anyway, from what I can tell. So just an honorable mention. And let's move on to the 90s. Here we have a bodybuilder by the name of Francis Benfado. Francis had a beautiful aesthetic physique and was a very graceful poser. And he also hit the mantis real good. I gotta say his tricep stands out to me quite a lot and it looks really big and defined. Here is Francis once again, and we can see he's not too shabby in the biceps or forearms either. So to my eyes he looks phenomenal. And here's another aesthetic talent, Charles Claremont. His biceps looks good and full, and he looks well put together even in this picture, which frankly sucks. So we move on. Now this pose was mainly done by these aesthetic icons because it's really an aesthetic pose for the most part, but it also shows power and dominance. Here is a 2000 competitor Gunter Schlierkamp pulling off a great mantis shot, especially for such a big guy. Here he is again, and although Gunter's triceps don't match his mountain peak biceps, he's good enough in the arm department, and the waist is on point too. Plus the fact Gunter even did this pose is great on itself. And of course, there are also some classic physique competitors who hit the pose today. We can't forget about them. Guys such as Steve Laureus, who we can see in these pictures. He looks pretty good and very pleasing and aesthetic. And Steve Laureus again, his biceps are huge but defined, and the waistline is very trimmed, so he looks impressive. Or here's another classic physique division bodybuilder, Keon Pearson, although now he's 212. Anyway, Keon is a great classic poser and he likes to incorporate this altered mantis shot time to time to his routines, and I think it's a good look for him. And it's a great look on this gentleman too, Alex Carbonero. He likes to do this pose, and I think his arms have just enough size for the shot to look good. So I hope he keeps hitting the pose. Or look at Logan Franklin, the size and shape of his arms. Admittedly, this is a gym pic, of course, and not showing much, but why not showcase Logan? The guy looks good. I wish he would hit the mantis pose in his posing routines. I think it's a good pose. But we haven't mentioned Wesley Vissers yet. He's kind of the elephant in the room because Wesley is the person who is probably most well known in this day and age for the mantis pose. And it's no wonder. Look at him. He's reminiscent of Arnold with these full long biceps, and overall his body is flatter in this position because he's hitting it very well and it looks great on him. And Wesley does the mantis pose very often too. He's very fond of it. Now indeed this pose is very arm focused, arm dominant, because the arms are virtually really the only body part you're consciously showcasing. So of course there are gonna be some guys in the open class that can do it really well these days as well. Even though they're not as aesthetic doing it because their midsection and waist are not as tight and tiny. One of them is the Predator, Kai Green, from the 2010s, and he looks decent enough. And he likes to hit this version more often because I frankly think his bicep bellies are probably too short to be effective in the straightened arm version. So this is definitely a better look for him. But I deviate. He's keeping the stomach tight and his arms are still impressive, although they're kind of oddly shaped. And someone who in my reckoning looks even better is Rolly Winkler, the Beast. Some of the best arms in the business today, if not the best, so of course he would look good in the pose. And his waist, most of the time, looks reasonably tight in my opinion, as we can see here. Plus, I have to applaud Broly for still hitting this classic pose, even though he's a mass monster. I like that about him. Look at the arms, his biceps in the back, and the form is huge and vascular, and he's doing an excellent job trying to also draw attention to his near arm with that ridiculous horseshoe triceps. Broly hits it great, undeniably. And to finish us off, today is probably the most aesthetically pleasing open bodybuilder today, and also a classic poser, Cedric McMillan. He hits the pose more like the golden era guys, and his biceps and triceps look beefy, so I think his overall package is well suited for this sort of a pose, and he should keep doing it. So guys, that's all. Tell me down in the comment section below if you like the praying mantis pose as much as I do, and if you know about someone who does the mantis pose great who I didn't mention in this video. Plus, how was the video? That would be nice of you giving me feedback. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some mantis pose videos and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.